Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at the ESAB Expand Show in Europe 2021 in the manual plasma stand. Well, my name is Lebang. I'm the application specialist or product manager, if you will, for manual cutting machines and manual welding machines. Today, I'd like to show you our latest developments of ESAB and thermodynamics on single-phased manual plasma. You see 3 new units here: HandyPlasma 2, 35 amps, 45 amps, and Cutmaster 40. Well, it needs to be explained why ESAB thermodynamics comes up with 3 different machines single phase. As well, why the Cutmaster 40 is more powerful than the HandyPlasma 45. So, why? It's done with reason. Done with reason. We are driving to our customers. We are with you at your shop, and we are listening. We are listening to our customers and want to have products which fit your purpose, not for ours. You don't need to cut every day. You need to do that, and you should have the best equipment for that. So, we are going to introduce the new HandyPlasma 35, 45, which are designed for workshops which are occasionally using plasma cutting. Car shops, for example. Both machines, and as well as the Cutmaster 40, are coming ready to cut out of the box. This plugs everything in, so you can start at once. Let me show how easy it is. That's a very important point, how easy it is, intuitive it is to use the Cutmaster, the settings. Let me show it straight on the display. You do not need to adjust any pressure, nothing. This is done by the machine itself. It's a one knob here. You can press it. We are going into a menu. You can choose between 2-stroke, 4-stroke, as you like, or 4-stroke trigger lock. For plate cutting or grid cutting, over here, switch it on. Here we do have air test. If there's enough pressure on, it sounds, it's okay. Great. Home button and back to the main menu up to 45 amps. Again, right out of the box, no pressure to adjust. It is automatically done by the unit. The torch for the HandyPlasmas. The 60 amp torch, so it lasts very good for you. This is a torch. It does have trigger protection over here to avoid that the torches are going around if you lay it down like this, for example, to avoid accidents, safety. Great. This HandyPlasma 45 is good for up to 60 millimeter plates. The HandyPlasma 35 up to 12 millimeter plates. And we made a cut with that, with these. Wonderful, wonderful cut, 60 millimeter plate. Great. So, but where's the difference to the Cutmaster? I said it does have more power. Yes, it does, because Cutmaster is a system, not only the power source. Power source itself is really, really robust, great handles for being outdoors somewhere. And yes, it's a system which gives us more power. It's the torch itself. There's a secret. Good cutting machine is only as good as a torch. And this is really a high professional one I'd like to show you. It's up to, from 40 amps for the small Cutmaster, up to 120 amps, the big Cutmasters. It's the same principle of consumable part, which gives you big benefits, even on a 40 amp machine. And it's more powerful as it is one system. This is one system, torch and power source, which enables us to give more voltage onto the arc, raise. So this 40 amp unit is really, really strong. This 35 HandyPlasma has 3,400 watts arc power here. This one has 4,400 watts. And this one 5,400 watts. It enables you to have a really good cut and fast cut. So it's a system. and it's a one torch, which has a lot of options. It is first very easy to change. On this machine, like this, new one in, new torch in, advanced torch connection, ready. As more options, for example, you need to have a longer lead in your workshop. It comes with a 6.1 meter lead, and you need a bit longer, the extension cable, protection hoses around that. There are circle cutting devices, straight cutting devices, which supports your job. And if you want to, as easy to change as I showed you, it's a straight cutting device for small applications in your shop. And as well, if you want to, great feature, other cutting machines, most of all cutting machines in the market can be adapted with a one-torch system. I'll show you later on. Adapter and other machines on it. Or old ESAB equipment, thermodynamic equipment as well. We do have retrofit torches to make your lifetime at your machine longer. Let me show the consumable parts, the secret. What we have prepared for you is a plate with gouging. Gouging is one big benefit of the Cutmasters. Gouging is used for getting away welding defects in the root or something like that. And what we offer is different consumable parts to make the right shape of the gouge you are doing. Simply replacing it. They are different in the hole, the inner hole, as you can see here, as well as the other smaller holes here. All of them looking pretty the same, but they are lasered with the item numbers to make it easier for you to choose the right ones out of the box. It's used with a heavy-duty shield. You see here. It's for heavy-duty applications, long lifetime, really long lifetime. And that's a standard one for distance cutting. And if you want to have more lifetime, or you want to cut with touching the plate, you can have this nozzle. It's a very special one, up to 60 amps. It's a standard shield on it. Touching it, or up to 60 amps, yes. Most of the competitors are ending at 40 amps. So, or we are using this one. This is for cutting, touching the torch on the plate up to 120 amps. You can use on the Cutmaster 40 as well. So it's one system, brilliant system where we can support you. Furthermore, we have introduced this black electrode. This is a worn-out ordinary one. The black one is coated electric conductive, and it has a different hafnium insert. The different hafnium insert gives us way longer lifetime. It's usable up to 60 amps and gives you more than or up to 60% more lifetime, which is money in your pocket. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was in short to our Cutmasters and HandyPlasmas, our new single-phased equipment in Europe. And one advice, one hint, the end. Single-phased equipment, if it is a welding equipment or a cutting device, it might happen that the fuse tips. Yes, can happen. It happens in one case. It happens in the case if you're choosing plates which are too thick. We recommend 12, 16 millimeter plates. If you're going up 20 or more, to enlarge the arc, to enlarge the resistance, and the machine likes to give more voltage, get the power. This moment, you have that. Can happen that's a fuse tip. So please stay at our recommended plate thicknesses and everything will run well. Many thanks, and yes, next time on our new Cutmasters. So please be excited. Thank you.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Kris Scherm. I'm the Global Business and Product Director for Manual Plasma Product. I'm so excited to be here with you guys, at least virtually. I wish I was there in person, but alas, here we are again, meeting over a virtual space. So that said, we're going to make the most of it. You're going to see some live demos from me today. Okay, so HandyPlasma 3545. What are we talking about here? You're talking about, on the 35, a machine that's capable of about 6 millimeters on your pierce, 12 millimeters on your edge start. When you jump up to the 45, you're talking 10 millimeter on your pierce and cut, 16 millimeter on your edge start. So I've got some material here. You can see there's your 10 millimeter mild steel with a hole and an edge start. There's your 16 millimeter, again with the HandyPlasma 45. So very, very capable machines. We do have to remember that across Europe, as you know, 220, 230 volt is the typical power at 16 amps of service. So although the machine is capable of handling a higher amp input, that is what you're limited to, and that's what you need to keep in mind when you talk about these lighter industrial machines and the capability or the cut capacity of those machines, so that you don't exceed really what the wall capacity of your building is versus the capacity of the machine. You'll have that same reality in welders as well, so be careful there. So let's get to cutting. I really want to show you what these are capable of, so let's start with the HandyPlasma 45 and do some cutting. A couple of tips here. The torch on the HandyPlasma 35 and 45, really nice, easy torch. Comes with the trigger guard. When you pull the trigger, you get a nice, clean, sharp arc right out the front. You have the capability to double pull the trigger like you saw me do there, and the air shuts off. Why would you want that? Well, if you're in an application where you have a compressed air cylinder and you don't have access to an air compressor that kind of gives you a continuous supply, it's really nice to be able to save your air. So if you're not doing continuous cutting, you don't have to let that post-flow cool actually happen. You can just double pull the trigger, save that air. You can make a bottle last a long time. Okay, so that's one nice feature. As you know, on the 3545, has a slew of screens, menu screens right there, where you have expandable metal mode, regular mode, 2T, 4T cutting, and a test to see your air purge, just like that, right? Once you're through those screens, really, you're gonna really use it in 2T mode, standard cutting, because 90% of the metal that we cut is solid metal. If they ever have expanded metal, then you can put it in expanded metal mode. At the end of the day, cutting is cutting. Get your settings on there and you're off and running. All right, so let's do this. Let's do some cutting. Right there is your 10 millimeter. This is a cut and a pierce using HandyPlasma 45. So just like that, beautiful clean cut, nice pierce right through it, right? Nice and easy. The other thing about plasma cutting, let me just remind you, anytime you plasma cut, yes, of course you're gonna get a little bit of dross on the front. It's nothing though like oxy-fuel, right? That's an oxy-fuel cut on that same 10 millimeter. Notice the heat affected zone, huge, right? No heat affected zone. I'm holding it in my hand right after I cut it. There's no way I could do that after I oxy-fuel cut that same piece, right? The slag that's on there, again, just pops right off, top and bottom. Really, really easy. And look at that. Nice and clean, sharp, clean cut, right? Super awesome. So plasma, when you're cutting with the plasma, you're talking about in Fahrenheit, it's, who cares, Celsius or Fahrenheit, 20, 30,000 degrees. Crazy hot, right? You're many times the temperature of the sun. And that's what allows you to move so quickly through the material to do a cut. So here's a little bit thinner. There's your 6 millimeter. Extremely fast. clean, beautiful cut. Let's jump it up. There's your 16 millimeter material. We'll cut a straight edge right across there. Let's see what it looks like. That's what I like to see, a nice drop cut. Use that nice feature, turn the air off. All right, so you are at the max sever of the machine. Typically at the max sever of the machine, of course, you're gonna see a little bit more dross. If you see dross at that type of level, of course, not a big deal. Again, with plasma, very typical. And again, look how easy that pops off. Look how small heat affected zone. You can kind of see it a little bit better there on that cut edge. There where you see a very, very small heat affected zone. Beautiful clean cut, right? That's at the max sever, 16 millimeter. The other thing that plasma is great at, and of course the HandyPlasma 3545 is no different. Here's some aluminum. See what that looks like. Flies through that material. Beautiful clean cut. That's only about 4 millimeter there. Let's do some 6 millimeter. So you notice I went a little bit slower. The thicker the material, slower you go, right? But still, for aluminum, that's a beautiful clean cut. And then last but not least is stainless. So here's some 6 millimeter stainless. Let's see what that looks like. I got a little jumpy in the middle of that there. That was just me, not the metal. But you can see how clean again on stainless. Stainless though, you do typically get these little fingers of dross. They're a little bit harder to remove than carbon steel. But if I'm gonna weld that right after, look how little the heat affected zone is, that black line. That's much, much, much smaller than anything I would do in welding. So if you touch that with a flap disc, simple grind, and that's actually ready for welding. So there you have it. HandyPlasma 45. I'm gonna cut to another video. Let me get the 35 hooked up. You can see what that's capable of well, so you see really what that difference looks like between the 45 and the 35. When you go to 35, you're gonna be just a little bit slower cut speed, a little bit less capacity, but still amazingly capable machines. So let's jump over to 35. I'll be right back. I've got the HandyPlasma 35 hooked up for you. Here is 6 millimeter. I'm gonna do a pierce and a cut on that. And then I'm gonna do a little, I love doing this as a demonstration. It's a great way to do things. There's some 3 millimeter that I can stack up, and then I'm left with 12 millimeter at the end, right? So it's a cool way to do it because I'll do the first cut, the second cut, third, and then fourth. So you'd see really what the capability of the machine is, and you'll see as I am thinner material, I'm able to go faster. As I go thicker, I slow down. So let's do the cut. Here we are, the HandyPlasma 35. So I'm back. Here's the hole right there. I should have done the cut first and then the pierce so you can see them both at the same time. Actually, let me do that on that side. I'll cut and then pierce. So for me, and hopefully you see this in the video too, I'm notably a little bit slower than the HandyPlasma 45. So the 35 that you just saw cut there, there's the hole, there's the cut, okay? So it is a little bit slower than the 45 was, but still extremely capable machine. do the edge starts now. I'm going to start with the 3mm, then you'll see 6, then you see 9, then you see 12. Okay? Set that all the way up, hanging over the edge. First cut to the last. Here we go. Uh-oh, not a drop cut, are you kidding? That was me right there in that middle, that shake. Not to worry though, I saw all the sparks go down, so I know that's still an okay cut. Watch, pops right off. So still a good cut, my little shake right there in the middle. And you can kind of see it right there. And that extra bit of slag made that little bit of stick. But the reason I was confident in it is because I didn't see sparks shoot back up. You did see that on cut number 3 though, if you noticed that. On cut number 3, I started the cut and then you saw the sparks go up. I immediately went whoop, and I backed up just a little bit and then kept going. Great way to recover a cut in the middle of a demo if you ever had to do that. The other reason why I love this demo is it shows the capability of doing stack cutting. You can stack dissimilar metals. It does not have to even be metal. So if you had concrete coated pipe, for example, a plasma will cut through that. I've cut plexiglass before. I sandwiched 2 pieces of metal on either side, plexiglass in the middle, cuts right through it. Reason is it's 20 to 30,000 degrees. It's crazy hot. And then the fact that you're using the electrical current connected through the circuit, as long as it sees that ground, up goes the cutting arc and you're cutting through the material. So stacking is a fun way to do a demonstration. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get me a Cutmaster 40 and you're gonna see the capability of that machine next. Here is the Cutmaster 40. So you saw the 35 and the 45 from HandyPlasma. Why would you go spend another 200 euros for the Cutmaster 40? Well, here's why. There's several reasons. One is, it's like buying, actually, let me take a step back. It's like buying a sports car. And what do you get with a sports car? A lot of times you get lighter weight, more power, more torque, more power to the wheels, right? So at the end of the day, Cutmaster 40 does have a lot more capability when it comes to that. You see it in the arc, you feel it in the power coming out the end of the torch. Kind of that power to weight ratio, that's what you get with a Cutmaster 40, and you can definitely see it in the arc. So I want you to pay attention to that when you see this arc fire off. In Europe, you're still limited to that 200 to 240 volt, 16 amps out of the wall in single phase. So keep that in mind. You do have 40 amps of output power coming out the end of the Cutmaster 40. Here's the cool part though. We offer 20 amp, 30 amp, and 40 amp consumables. So if you did have like an auto body application, some kind of thin metal, something that you're doing in metal art, we actually do have really fine cut capability with that 20 amp consumable. That's really nice. That's a nice feature. The other feature that you have is gouging consumables. You don't have that with the HandyPlasma. So you have gouging capability with the Cutmaster 40 that comes ready inside the box. Lastly, we got the Black Series consumables. Those offer 60% longer life than our previous consumables offered. Last but not least, it does have the ATC torch connection on it. Quick disconnect on both the torch and the ground lead. The ATC connection lets you hook in like a mech pack. If you've got pipe applications, semi-automatic applications of any kind, you could take that ATC connection off, put the mech pack in, fire it off, and you're off and running with the semi-automated application. Very industrial system, industrial applications. That's what you pay an extra 200 euros for, is that flexibility to go and attack any application, semi-automated or cutting or gouging, right? let's do some cutting, right? So it's capable of pierce and cut up to 12 millimeter, edge start 16. So that's what I'm gonna do. I've got some 10 millimeter here, just like we did with the HandyPlasma 45. So I want you to kind of see that to compare it. Pay attention to the arc. You'll see it's a little bit fatter, brighter arc. A lot of power coming out the end of it. So you're gonna love it. I love it. So really easy with the trigger too. I love our safety trigger. It doesn't let you start it, but you do that little slide and pull. Okay. Beautiful arc coming off the front of it. All right, let's get to cutting. Here's some 10 millimeter. Just a smooth arc. I love the sound of it, the smoothness of it. Nice pierce and cut there on that 10 millimeter. Similar compared to the 45, but I can feel that arc and you can see it as I went to do the cut. All right, that's 10 millimeter. Now let's step it up. There's the 16 millimeter. This is what it's rated for a sever cut. Nice drop cut. Always love to hear that, see that. Like I said, and like you saw on the last one, right? You're gonna have a little bit of dross on a sever cut. That's typical. You're always gonna have that with plasma. But again, look how clean and sharp that top edge is. Gotta love that. Then you just take another piece of metal, pop off that bottom edge. So there's the bottom, there's the top. And there you're left with just a beautiful, clean cut. Now, stainless, here you go, same thing. There's some of that 6 millimeter, just like you saw before. Great, clean cut, easy to do, flies through the material. All right, 6 millimeter aluminum. I love that. What a beautiful clean cut. 6 millimeter aluminum, just flies through it. Hey, what else have we got here? Hey, you know what? Let's do that same stack cut like we saw with the 35, except this machine's capable of a little bit more. So there's the stack that we had with the 35. Let's go ahead and stack on 2 more pieces, right? There you go. So there's the severance capability, but now you're talking stacked material. A little bit harder to cut. You get that loss through each of the gaps is what happens. But if you got a nice sharp arc, nice clean stream of air, you're gonna have a nice cut at the end. Expect to see a little dross at the end, but it should be a nice cut. Just like last time, I thought I was going to get a drop cut, but I didn't. That's on me. But stack cutting's hard. It has that aspect of kind of re-welding the material back together through each of those segments. But that's actually quite nice. You can see where I popped off the slag there. Man, amazing on a stack cut. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 layers on a stack. Fun demo to do. Use that in your arsenal. All right, so now we've talked about HandyPlasma 3545, Cutmaster 40, and all the additional features that you see there. The last thing I want to show you is gouging capability. It's super simple. All you're going to do is change out the cutting nozzle for the gouging nozzle. And you can see it's a little bit larger orifice right there in the end. It's meant for gouging. It feathers that arc out. I'm gonna leave that machine sitting right where it's at. 40 amps capability. You heard it spit the air, checking for air. So let's do this on this piece of 6mm here. We're gonna do a quick gouge. I'm gonna shoot it that way and then show you what it looks like. So there you go, a little back and forth weave. Pretty cool. You can do a weave gouge, you can do a straight gouge, put a little motion to it, anything you need to be able to push and work the metal out of either the crack or the weld that you're doing. So there you saw a few different features that I did. Back and forth, did a straight push, did that big weave back and forth, just like acting like a grinder, and then did the circular shape there at the end. Clean, clean gouges. I love the capability of this machine. It's a workhorse. Can't wait to hear about all your success stories.